This is no game. Standing in the dark, I swear.
Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host Kevin. This will be discussing the 1987 action sci-fi thriller, The Running Man, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Richard Dawson, Yaphet Kotto. It's an all-star cast. For those of you joining us for the first time, each week on the B Movie Club, I discuss certain guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the past. You can go ahead and subscribe to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the big thumbs up. Also go to our page on YouTube, Kevin D, that's me, and subscribe. It's totally free. You can also follow me on Twitter at the B Movie Club. Don't forget to spread the word. If you do this, you get all the latest updates whenever I post a new video and other kind of wacky news and information about the B-movies that are out there. So spread the word, won't you? The Running Man. This takes place in the not-so-distant future, 2019, where the world economy has collapsed, where it's just chaos in the streets, and the government maintains a tenuous control over the populace through the use of these kind of ultra-violent game shows. One of them, like The Running Man, basically what they do is they take criminals, convicted criminals, and make them kind of run, essentially, survive for a certain amount of time through this kind of game zone, this battlefield, while they're being pursued by who are called stalkers, who are kind of these super-powered guys with weapons who are after them, essentially. And meanwhile, the home audience can bet on who they think will get the next kill and how the runners will do, and so on and so forth. Ben Richards, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, is a military, like I say, helicopter pilot who, there's a food riot going on in Bakersfield, and he was ordered to basically gun down the people who were rioting, even though there were women and children, and even though there were no weapons present. When he refused to do so, he was beaten up by his crew. The mission was taken over by these guys, and they proceeded to gun down the people, but then blame it on him to the public. Okay, so now he's in jail. So he's in this crazy jail right now with these other guys who are kind of resistance fighters who are trying to topple the government because they see it as corrupt. So first thing they have to do is they have to escape from prison. They manage to exact a daring escape. But Ben Richards and his compatriots are captured by the government. And because the escape was so daring, and there's this fight at the airport where they show Ben Richards running, and of course he's a big, buff, violent guy, looking guy. Damon Killian, played by Richard Dawson, who's the producer and the host of The Running Man, says this is the guy that we want for our next episode. So they scoop him up, and the way it works is they say, okay, it's all voluntary, you can go back to prison, or take a chance on The Running Man. If you survive on The Running Man, you'll get a free pardon, or a full pardon, and your freedom. You'll get to go live out your days in beautiful Hawaii, and it'll be lovely times. But obviously, if you lose, you die. They kill you. So, what do you choose? So he agrees to do it, and after he's kind of ready to go, he discovers that his buddies have also been captured, and they're also being sent down into the battlefield. Some of the stalkers that they face along the way, Professor Sub-Zero, who is played by a former wrestler, Professor Toru Tanaka, if you remember your WWE from way back in the day. Sub-Zero is like this kind of a samurai guy, but he's dressed like a hockey player. Okay, so his battlefield is like this hockey rink where his hockey stick is like razor sharp and he hits explosive pucks at you. Boom. Later, Ben Richards meets Buzzsaw, who's a guy on a motorcycle with like two chainsaws. He's always trying to get at you. There's also Dynamo, who's a big, heavy guy who sings opera music and shoots electricity. Electrocute you. Later, he meets Fireball, played by Jim Brown, former all-time leading rusher of the NFL. So there you go. Fireball has like a jetpack and a flamethrower. So all these guys, one at a time, sometimes two at a time, are after him and his buddies. Meanwhile, his buddies who are with the Resistance are trying to find the secret code somewhere in the battlefield to basically block the transmission of all these shows, because it's all lies and propaganda. They want to overthrow the government, like I said. On the outside, leading the Resistance is Mick, played by Mick Fleetwood of Fleetwood Mac. There you go. And his trusty assistant, played by Dweezil Zappa. It's an all-star cast. What can I tell you? So, I don't want to spoil the whole plot for you. Okay, I don't want to give it all away. It's exciting. It's the best of dystopian action. You've got all of Arnold Schwarzenegger's crazy one-liners. At one point he calls Dynamo Lighthead. That was clever. How long did it take him to write that one? Christmas tree, because he kind of got glowing lights and things like that. Later when he defeats Sub-Zero, he goes, "Here's Sub-Zero. Now, Plane Zero." Good times. This is horrible Schwarzenegger one-liners at their finest. So there you go. The movie The Running Man was based upon a novel of the same name, written by an author named Richard Bachman. The studios acquired the rights to this movie. Little did they know that Richard Bachman was the pseudonym of Stephen King. Stephen King written about 4 or 5 books under this pseudonym, just trying to branch out and do other things while he was still kind of writing his horror books. The plot of the book is wildly different from the movie. It's basically kind of like you sign up for The Running Man, you can go anywhere in the world, and hunters are chasing you. These hunters are basically kind of FBI agent types. Meanwhile, local law enforcement is after you as well. They aren't like these crazy super villain types with fancy names and special weapons. So it's a little bit different. They took the idea and kind of went off in their own crazy direction. Stephen King said that Ben Richards in the novel is about as far from Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie as you could imagine, but what are you going to do? This movie actually had 4 different directors at any given time. They're all fired. 8 days into production, they hired a new director, better known as Starsky from Starsky and Hutch, who primarily only done television shows. And Schwarzenegger actually said this was a big mistake because he shot it like a TV show and it lost a lot of its kind of underlying themes and it kind of wrecked the movie. So what are you going to do? Richard Dawson, obviously, like I said, played the host, doing a lot of Richard Dawson-y sorts of things. People don't know, but Richard Dawson was an actor before he was a game show host, and you kind of see that. If you go back to like Hogan's Heroes, Richard Dawson was on that show playing one of the prisoners. So there you go. People have said that his performance in this movie when he's off camera, because he's kind of a jerk off camera, like insulting to his underlings and, just not a very nice person. People who actually worked with him at Family Feud said that was very similar to how he was backstage at Family Feud. So there you go. Good times. Had by all. What else can I tell you about this movie? There's lots of these musical interludes where there are like dancing girls like from Solid Gold or something. Evidently, Paula Abdul did all that choreography. So that's pretty important, if you ask me. This movie actually had 4 different actors who appeared in the Predator movies. Had, obviously, Schwarzenegger was in the first one. Jesse the Body was in it. And Maria Conchita Alonso was actually in Predator 2. That's not 4, that's only 3. I misspoke. So there's only 3 actors who are in the Predator movies. And also, two actors who went on to become governors of states. Obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse the Body Ventura, who plays Captain Freedom. He also he also was the governor of Minnesota for a short time there. See, it's an all-star cast. There's so much going on in this movie. This movie currently has a 61% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Not one of his finest achievements, but if you're sitting back, just enjoying some Schwarzenegger, even bad Schwarzenegger is still kind of good, if you catch my drift. Some, early to mid to late 80s, you can't beat that Schwarzenegger, in my humble opinion. So, one thing, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I always love the fact that in every movie, Schwarzenegger has his thick Austrian accent, and there's never any discussion as to why he has a crazy accent. They're like, where are you from, man? I'm from Detroit. I was born in Bakersfield. Yeah, it's all this good stuff. It's like, good times had by all. The fact that his character at one point is called the Butcher of Bakersfield, I found hilarious. A lot of my family comes from Bakersfield, so there you go. So, moving away from sci-fi action, we're going to be doing a sci-fi horror movie next week. Ironically, also involving an original Stephen King property. We're going to be doing Maximum Overdrive, starring Emilio Estevez. So check that out. It is streaming instantly on Netflix. So rush out and see it. Let me know what you think. You can send me all your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, questions, and comments. And I might just talk about it on the show. Don't forget to go to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the thumbs up. Subscribe to us on our page on YouTube. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter, at the B Movie Club. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote. And here it is. Hello, cutie pie. One of us is in deep trouble. So there you have it. That's my horrible Arnold Schwarzenegger impression, as you've heard throughout this entire show. Next week, Maximum Overdrive. Thank you for joining us, and be well.